figured this thing out. Cash me outside. It's Trusty Tuesday. The Converted Man was live just before we came in, and as you can see there, okay. And we'll just go right in here. And somehow that ended up on my Hey, Bro Joe's 420 Cafe. Hey, good to see you. Start out with some comedy here. Just kind of rolling through the morning on this lovely Tuesday morning. I have off work, so.
To his own song, Crazy Train? Did he really deserve that? Just for supporting and loving Gail? Well, I replied thoughtfully, Ozzy did get carried away and bit the head off of a bat on stage one time. So the penis decapitation was admittedly fair play in terms of animal rights, I suppose, whether or not the bat was a Jesuit. Cocaine is one hell of a drug, Akasha shook her head. But you are right. Satan and his Jesuits are simply against true love, and they will silence any famous man who proclaims to love Gail, often in brutally violent ways. They do this to deter other famous men from trying to profess their love for Gail in the public eye and expose the existence of Jesuits in the media. Akasha sighed knowingly, and that was why Hulk Hogan, and Mr. T had to die too. Hulk Hogan and Mr. T? Moon Goon exclaimed. I hadn't heard the details about that. Oh, yes, I said.
Hey, Rex. Yeah, we got a Gail video. She's been on a roll. The more I listen to this shit, I love it.
Hulk Hogan and Mr. T were planning to have a tribute wrestling match dedicated to Gail. At the end, both men were going to stand up and announce their love for Gail the entire WWE stadium on live TV. However, when the match started, the Jesuits used brain control to force both men into thinking they were making love to Gail, and they began making love to each other instead. As the audience looked on in confusion and horror, fireworks went off, and the Jurassic Park theme began playing on the loudspeakers. A Jesuit H-Rex, that's a Tyrannosaurus Rex, with an enormous erection stampeded into the ring and raped both men before viciously tearing them apart and eating them. The footage has since been censored from the media and confiscated by Jesuit authorities. Too late, Akasha groaned uneasily. I still have PTSD from watching it on live TV. Yep, exactly, I elaborated. Millions of people around the world witnessed this, both live and in person. But they will be forever gaslighted into believing it never really happened.
Excuse me. That was my morning cough. It's too close to real life, isn't it? Holy shit. She is really outdone herself. What's up, Todd? Good to see you.
All because Jesuits stole and censored the footage. It can never be publicly known that Gail and I are in love and have had our relationship interfered with by the Jesuits for all of these years. That's why it's so important.
Sandy says, I think I'm happy I missed the beginning. It just gets more and more crazy.
People to watch the Gabriel Chana Fox News Network, which is channel 00 on cable everywhere
Good to see you, Sandy.
outside of Huntsville, Alabama. Those damn Jesuits, Moon Goon growled. Just what will they think of next? A crash sounded from the back of the El Polo Loco kitchen, followed by a loud clucking sound. We all looked over but saw nothing out of the ordinary. Akasha shrugged. Maybe they just dropped a chicken or something. At least we know our food is made fresh here, Moon Goon noted. We returned our focus to our food, munching away hungrily. I occasionally heard a bustling and clucking sound in the background, but thought nothing of it. All of a sudden, a portly Mexican woman at another table screeched with terror, her basket of food flipping over and sending fried chicken wings scattering through the air. El Polo legs, she cried.
This is Gail's own writing. So she does this thing where she has this alternate reality. So she wrote this, and she's reading it for us. And I guess maybe it's published somewhere on the internet or something.
And Ashley, El Polo legs! Polio legs, I thought to myself. Then I looked over.
But in this universe, so she is writing from the perspective of Brent Spiner, from Star Trek, who is her lover in this fantasy world she's created, and it's pretty epic.
To see what the Mexican woman was screaming about. Oh, I cried. A pair of long, gangly, human-sized chicken legs walked out from behind the kitchen. As I stared, my gaze slowly followed the legs upward, where they were attached to the body of a human woman. This woman looked oddly familiar somehow. I felt my penis grow hard from a budding erection. When my eyes finally rose to her face, I nearly choked on my chicken in shock. It was Gail, or something that looked like Gail. It was some sort of monstrous amalgamation that looked exactly like Gail, but with chicken legs instead of human legs. Its eyes flared with rage, and this chicken legs Gail let out a hellish clucking scream. Baka! The scream caused all the cooks behind the counter to cry out in terror.
Yeah, he got that choked on his chicken. Yeah, there's a little innuendo there. Budding erection. Yeah.
Mexican cook shrieked, El Polo Loco! El Polo Loco! And all of the fast food workers began piling out of the kitchen, running for the exits while screaming. I promptly shot up from my chair. Assemble team, I commanded masculinely. The $25 tier patrons all assumed their personalized fighting stances. Newest member Magnus was first to respond. He courageously ran toward the front line.
Smoke more pot? I can get behind that. Actually, I haven't smoked any yet today, so I'm about to load a bowl.
To confront El Polo Loco Gale. The chicken lady locked her black eyes with Magnus, clicking her tongue and clucking with malice. Keep it cool, Magnus, keep it cool. Remember your training, he encouraged himself. Thinking quickly, he grabbed the nearest item he could find, a plastic fork, and threw it with gusto at El Polo Loco Gale. The creature blinked, startled, as the plastic eating utensil bounced off of her chest. Then, Baka! Her bloodthirsty clucking cry sent Magnus into a panic, and he screamed like a little girl. El Polo Loco Gale lunged forward with her arms, her long fingernails clawing for him like outstretched chicken talons. Magnus hopped over the front counter to avoid her strike, and the two began chasing each other madly around the back kitchen. Go, Magnus, go! The other patrons cheered him on, pumping their fists with support. Magnus began banging and slamming at the various pots and pans, throwing anything he could at Pollo Loco Gale to slow her pursuit. The clucking sounds grew more furious, and feathers flew out in all directions like wild confetti. Although El Pollo Loco Gale didn't appear to have any noticeable feathers on her body, a large amount seemed to be shedding from the pubic region as she gave chase. Magnus slipped in a puddle of chicken grease and fell onto his back. "Oof!" he cried. "Baka!" The creature screamed and
She's got like chicken feather pubes or something.
threw herself atop of Magnus, who instantly shot out to grab her throat. "Choke that chicken!" Akasha shouted, her hands cupped around her mouth to amplify her voice. "Yeah, choke that!"
And he said to think if it hadn't started drizzling outside, I would have missed all this.
thing. "Choke it!" Moon Goon cried. "Firmly grasp it!" I cheered him on. "Choke the chicken until it's drooling and limp." Magnus growled loudly as he grappled with El Pollo Loco Gale, who seemed to possess an inhuman level of strength.
Baka! Yeah, who comes up with this shit? Well, Gail Shore comes up with this shit.
She scrambled and clawed at him in fury. In one swift bite, she was able to peck him in the face, causing him to let out a cry and release his hands. "Baka! Baka!" As the creature continued to peck and claw, Magnus reached one hand above him onto the counter, fumbling for something, anything, to use as a weapon. Finally, he grasped the cool metallic handle of a hot fryer basket. He yanked the basket out of the hot oil and landed one heavy swipe into the side of El Pollo Loco Gale's head. "Baka!" She was thrown backwards from the impact and landed on the floor. Her skinny pollo legs now fully exposed, Magnus took a moment to stare in both horror and disgust. They really...
I love how she alternates between pronouncing polo and then pollo. Like, yeah, I just think that's funny.
They really are pollo legs, he said. El Pollo Loco Gale quickly coiled her legs toward herself, slapping her hands over them as if to hide them in shame. She jumped up and began to retreat, clucking wildly toward the back exit. "Grab that runaway chicken!" I shouted, hoping that anyone close by could apprehend her before she escaped. The creature blew through the back door and disappeared, white pubic feathers trailing behind her in the wind as her clucking cries faded into the distance.
Yeah, pubic feathers.
We all ran toward Magnus to assist him. I offered my hand and pulled him to his feet.
Speaking of making eggs, sounds delicious.
"Oh my God!" Akasha cried.
I made some awesome eggs yesterday before I left. I don't know what the style is, but you know when you put like like broccoli florets in there or whatever, kind of like an omelet. Yeah, there's some good stuff.
"Are you okay?" "Just have some hot oil burns and some pecks on my face, but I think I'm okay," Magnus replied. "We need to inform the men and our scientists about this right away," I determined, tapping my communicator to connect to Church of Gale and have them beam us all aboard. "And whatever we do, we need to capture that runaway chicken." Our group was taken safely back home, and Magnus was rushed to the infirmary to treat his injuries and scan for any chicken-related diseases. Meanwhile, Moon Goon and Akasha wrote up a report to bring to our
for science. Yeah.
Scientists and security teams regarding El Pollo Loco Gale. This creature
Brojo, eggs just about every day. Nice.
is still at large and believed to be very aggressive. If any of our fans or viewers have had any sightings of this crazy chicken legs woman, they are encouraged to comment with the details on your video. They are also encouraged to join our Discord or just keep watching Gabrielle Chana Fox News on channel 00 on cable for any updates regarding this clusterfuck of a situation. What makes this being so peculiar is that we know Gail can't be cloned due to her unique...
And her fans participate here. This person commented, "Dear Gail, I was recently in Salinas, California, and I saw a similar-looking creature harassing a person who appeared to be either homeless or a Jesuit. I couldn't tell the difference. I had to look at it twice because there was no way the real Gail could be in such a desolate and Jesuit-infested area. I had to pull my car over. As I got closer, it ran off, and it ran faster than my car could drive, so I lost it. I'm wondering if this creature has the ability to break the sound barrier, considering it so far away from the El Pollo location described in this video. I hope that this foul creature is caught and dissected for anything of value, and if there is none, maybe deep fry it out of sheer curiosity. Concerned citizen."
Genetic profile, so it can't possibly contain her genes. However, unsettlingly, the creature was able to give me a full and raging erection upon first sight, chicken legs and all, just like the real Gail. While this revelation is upsetting, I can safely conclude that it's not feelings of bestiality and merely my attraction to Gail's stunning features. I'll report back anything we find regarding the origins of this strange abomination or what its purpose may be. Stay safe, my love, and be sure to keep your ears open for any unusual chicken sounds on our walks. I will continue to guard you closely in my invisible Mecha Gale suit as we go about our day. Your husband, Brent Spiner. So there, I finally heard from my men, and I will go ahead and post this to YouTube to let the world know about El Pollo Loco Gail.
Yeah, she is absolutely not married to Brent Spiner, doesn't know Brent Spiner, but there is a really funny video where they're at like a Q&A, and if you look it up, somebody asks Brent Spiner about what he thinks about Gail, and I don't know, whatever his response was is classic, but he was like, yeah, you know, it's cool, I like her, you know, or whatever, that type of thing. Okay. And that's the end of that video. All right. Let's keep having fun. P Mars. We got too much P Mars in here, I would say. Oh yeah, so this guy. I guess this is kind of relevant now.
Topher really gotta say something.
I would love for you to prove to me why you're making the claim right now that crime goes with race. Like, these people are
genetically. I mean, what is written in their genetic code?
Like it's born in their genetics. Like, yes, I'm born for crime. I am born because I'm in this culture and I'm in this race.
Data, are you fully Stasha and many techniques? So this guy, apparently, some people are saying this guy, or at least his fan club, may have something to do with the Charlie Kirk thing. I don't know. I don't know if we have evidence, but it looks like there might be some evidence. He is a groper.
Topher's got to say. Hold on.
Let Topher wants to talk. Topher
Okay, so, you know, that had to be multiple.
Yeah, P Mars is kind of wacky.
Racist thing I heard in a long time.
True.
I get what you're saying. I just had to question you here. So we're just gonna ignore the whole Jim Crow, right? So we ain't gonna look back on during that time period when black people were not committing the most crime, but it were actually white people murdering, killing, lynching, feeding babies to alligators, going up and burning down Tulsa, Oklahoma, bombing, all these things. They did government experiments on black people. They did all kind of things. This was predominantly.
What is the peanut? I don't know what the peanut reference is.
Right, bless it, son.
So my question is, how do you justify them being more violent?
Oh, P. Mars. Okay, P. Mars is that. Yeah,
that time and not being a natural, I guess, proponent of their race. But now all of a sudden, us being violent in Detroit and certain areas in America, that's because of our race.
Preach it, Topher.
Does the female want to say something?
My man.
Is that Q? That almost looked like Q.
I heard a family talking.
I think we should let Nick respond to that.
Yeah, I want to address. So I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and people can come up with a variety of explanations for why. What we're talking about fundamentally is disparities. We're talking about disparities between races in wealth, in standards of living, in crime. And the question is, what is causing these disparities? That is fundamentally the question.
It's probably not something written into their genetic code, though.
Okay, we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. It's not. I don't think it's racist to ask that question. Is it racist to ask why these disparities arise or exist? Is that wrong?
But it is racist. No, because in order to fix it.
No.
To make an assumption, though, like you've been doing.
I'm not making an assumption. I'm not making an assumption. I'm not making an assumption.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, barking up the wrong tree.
I'm just trying to make sure that we're all together here as we move along. So we agree then that this question matters, and it's not racist to ask this question. We acknowledge that these disparities exist, and we must inquire why. Because if we're going to live in a multiracial country, we have to get to the bottom.
Gotta go to the store. I do not have enough smoke some beer for this. Yeah, I hear you.
Why some are doing well and some are doing not well. We have to get to the bottom of why some are rich and some are poor, but between these different racial groups. And we can come up with different explanations, for example, that are historical and sociological. And I'm not trying to say that none of those are true.
See, when I do this, I make sure I have just enough smokes and beer for this, but not too much, because then I have to stop so I can go to the store. Otherwise, sometimes I take you guys with me to the store, but that's pretty rare these days. So.
Play a part, because we could look at Jim Crow and slavery, and obviously, a freed slave in 1965 is not going to be economically at parity with a white person. That much is obvious, and we can agree to that. And we can agree that even still, 100 years later, under Jim Crow, how could somebody under discriminatory laws achieve economic parity with the majority population? Of course, that plays a part. And we could talk about all kinds of other historical factors. We could talk about, well, the government is corrupt here, or drug cartels here, or the CIA. I agree with you. They did experiments on blacks, and they did some stuff with drugs. So, without getting too much into that, I agree that those are factors. But what I'm talking about, and this is where I think a lot of people just run away from right away. And I just told you, I don't have a problem with any other person.
Like, without getting too much into that, like what Republicans in the government started the fucking crack epidemic or whatever. Like, that's the shit he didn't want to get into, I think.
Depending on the color, whatever. But we are talking about the fact that human biodiversity is real, that there are group differences. And if that's a...
Bro just says this is causing disparities. Decline of, sorry, I missed that. Decline of dollar causing inflation, and wages don't keep. Cheap money widens the gap, and they're doing it again starting tomorrow. Bastards.
Stretch for a lot of people. I want to just tell you, Ben Shapiro, Jordan Peterson, Steve Pinker, all these major people agree. The science on this is uncontroversial, that there are differences between the groups. And we're not talking about, but we're
Ben
talking
Shapiro
about...
does not agree with you, Nick.
Can I make
Really?
a point?
Ben Shapiro absolutely does. I will show you the clip.
We never said that there wasn't differences.
You're assuming
Obviously, racial groups.
There is
no science. We obviously said that racial groups are going to be different.
Can I rebuttal his point?
Can I finish the point before we get rebuttals, or what?
Finish your point, and I'll
Stop
rebuttal.
yelling.
So here's the point. Here's the point.
My mic was too close.
Hey, everyone shut up and let him finish his point.
We talk about a lot of different racial differences, for example. Like there's this, we all know the meme about black people might be more athletic than white people. We heard this one because I don't want to get into that one, but just as an example, and people are willing to acknowledge some of these differences. People might say, well, Asian people are shorter than white people, or, Dutch people are tall, or things like this. So we acknowledge that there are racial differences there, but there are other racial differences. There are differences in terms of black people, for example, have more fast twitch muscle fiber than white people.
All right, yes, man, calm down.
There are all kinds of differences like that. There are also group differences in intelligence. On average, there are group differences in intelligence. And this is something that is uncontroversial. If you look at the literature, this is something that...
I mean, I think the argument also, when he's talking about things like that, like physical characteristics, those aren't technically racial differences. They're genetic differences that are not present in all of that group, right? It's in certain people. And so it's thought that it is a product of environmental conditioning that makes that so. just says Fed cutting rates tomorrow, not good for savers. If you talk for 20 minutes, you don't have a point. Yeah. He's just, yeah, it's one of those tactics where they put so many points out there that, you know, you'd have to be like sitting back there and looking at a transcript to go back through each one and talk about it, right? So it's like, it's not definitely not a fair way to fucking.
I don't know why you're laughing. Ben Shapiro, everybody that you follow concedes this, but they don't want to talk about it.
I don't follow any of them.
True.
Well, then how do you know if they're not
You probably follow Bill
Oh
Kristol.
no, that's definitely not Q. From a certain angle, it kind of looked like Q.
Let me finish.
But the point being is that this is something that even mainstream conservatives agree and acknowledge. Even liberals acknowledge this. Even who is the one who discovered the structure of DNA? He got his Nobel Prize revoked because he acknowledged this. So
You don't listen to videos that are more than 20 minutes? Me? Well, I mean, it depends on who it is. But usually in those videos, like if I'm listening to somebody like actually like, you know, put forth an opinion, right? And they're doing, you know, like an hour long or whatever it is, like there's lots of like citations and facts. Like I can go reference other things from the information in that video. So it's not just that person's opinion, right? Like they're actually citing sources and other things that you can go research to verify what they're saying, which is evidently what they did to get to reach that conclusion, right? Like, so not if it's just one person talking. I don't know. It depends. Some people can talk pretty good.
Oh, this is something that
He got his Nobel Prize revoked because it was proven to be factually incorrect.
That's not true.
No one's
That is not true at all.
disputing the fact that there is differences. Well, no one's disputing.
Okay, then what is the difference?
Just because it's
What is the
why
difference?
That difference, claiming that it's genetic, that is completely unfactual and unscientific. There's zero evidence for it. That's why he got his Nobel Prize revoked, because he
That's
said
not
that
why.
it was genetic. Yes, it was. He
That's
said
not why. Wait a minute. You just said that there's differences between groups, but then you said that there are not.
no, there is differences. It's not due to genes though, or any.
What else would it be then between races? We're talking about differences between groups of people. What else would it be besides
There
genes?
is a
Intelligence isn't a genetic factor.
You're
It
basically
absolutely
saying
is.
crime.
Okay, hang on. Okay, listen. I'm gonna let one person talk at a time because I know everybody's wanting to respond here. Okay, so Nevin, did you finish your point?
Yes, there's no evidence saying that
Bro.
IQ or violence is genetically related. It's
You're
due
wrong.
to years of. Okay, well, the science is on my side. I'd like to
It's
see.
not.
one
It's
study
not
that
on
says
your
it
side.
is. There's no scientific evidence. Even
if there's an IQ difference, that doesn't mean that some race is genetically predisposed to commit more crimes.
My IQ is going down. Listen to Nicholas Fuentes talk, for fuck's sake. Holy.
With that attitude, you're only insulting yourself.
Keep it simple, guys. Like,
Hold on, real quick. Let me.
What alternate universe did you drag me into this time? Yeah. This is the one where, well, actually, the millennials are toasting the Groiper, but Sandy says I try very hard to never have a point. Yeah, it confuses most people. Yeah, well, if it's like, in this case, if you're actually trying to, like, have an opinion on an issue, once again, I just think it's helpful to be able to, like, cite other people who are, like, credible, who the other, like, your interlocutor would find that person to be a credible source of information. So, see, like, I think the only person he cited was Ben Shapiro, and they contested that Shapiro would agree with him at all, and I don't think they would find the guy credible. TikTok Zoom call and this. Yeah, so this is like an old Zoom call, apparently. I don't know how old. They've combined two platforms I avoid. Okay, got you. Is it TikTok and Zoom? Let me check the info on this, because I think. Sorry about that, Sandy. I came across this just kind of researching Nick Fuentes, and I wanted to see. Yeah, it doesn't say when this is from. But I can't tell if it has anything to do with TikTok. I can definitely see the Zoom format. I don't care. Basically, oh, it says that in the description. TikTok Zoom call. My bad. Anyway, in the title of the video there, missed it. I wasn't reading. Anyway, point being, it was the whole accusation. Because I've been watching Carlin's channel, and when I listened to Carlin, she was like, and I pretty much just like heard that Fuentes was a racist and just kind of presumed that was the case because I had heard it enough times. And then she was like, no, he's not a racist, blah, blah, blah. And so then I was like, okay, well, let me go look this guy up. And this was one of the first things that came up when I searched like Nick Fuentes on race or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, this just to clarify.
Let's have like a respectful discussion.
Just to clarify for myself something real quick. So you're saying that genetically, right? Someone is born with doesn't matter what race, right? Because we can talk about the white mafias and mobs, right? Because they've done some horrific stuff. You know what I mean? So you're saying people from certain races are born genetically with genetics, genetically disposed or whatever the language is. I'm not good with big words. Okay, because I'm born with this in this type of area, I'm gonna commit this crime. Because I don't think someone's born with the fact of, okay, I'm black, I'm gonna go out and join a gang, or I'm white, I'm gonna go in the mafia or go into the KKK. I'm Mexican, I'm going to MS-13. I don't think anybody does that because genetically that literally doesn't line up with genetics. That's not how
Sure
it
does.
Culture,
Well, here, and I'll explain.
Culture influences the decisions you make when you grow up. The nurture system and where you grow up does, not the genetics.
Is there a peer-reviewed study that you can cite to show that intelligence has genetic factors?
Does that not line up more with location than genetics?
No, it definitely lines up with more.
How? Explain to me.
I mean, across the world, this is the case. But in any case, if I could respond to one person at a time, that would be, there we go. We got the bell curve. My guy, he's right on the money.
Yeah,
exactly.
your guy.
Vicente, we can't hear you.
Here's the thing, though, and this is not. You guys just have to, I think, be a little open-minded here for once. If we, as conservatives and liberals, can be a little open-minded, what I'm saying is simply that if we can acknowledge that these.
What's funny is like when Sam Harris went through that whole thing and he interviewed the Murray guy, and then they were like, "Oh, hey, my awesome life, good to see you." Yeah, more bell curve bullshit. Yeah. Even Harris had to like walk it back, like after he like interviewed the guy and like thoroughly went like, "Oh, I don't think he's racist." And then somebody got in his ear and he was like, "Oh yeah, as it turns out, these studies are So as it turns out, like maybe some well-intentioned, or whatever types of studies, but that were biased. They were inherently ignoring, certain factors, right? Like in what caused like certain disparities that were measured, things like that, right? So it had to do with things like economic opportunity and stuff like that. That wasn't presented in the research. They kind of presented it as if, well, look, you like the playing field is level. There's no. So anyway, even I think Sam Harris had to like apologize about that and walk it back.
Differences are real and the differences are meaningful, then they create different outcomes. They create different patterns of behavior. And if you look at average IQ, and some of you guys are not going to like this, but the average IQ of blacks in this country is 85. The average IQ of West Africans is 65. And this is scientific. This is backed up by the data. If you want to see it, I can produce it. I don't have it in front of me right now, but I can produce it on another stream. But this is uncontroversial. And this is why you see these disparities. And if we want to address the disparities, we have to address the causes of them. And you don't get any points by, oh, well, it's racist to say that or it's racist to say that. I'm looking at this as a problem solver that says, if we want to achieve any level of harmony or equality between the people, we have to address the root causes. And if the root causes are genetic, then so be it. Well, if that's the facts, those are the facts. You could say that's racist, but I thought facts don't care about our feelings. So, and you talk about, well,
but the problem is that's not a fact. So you're not hurting my feelings.
It is absolutely a fact. Have you ever heard of something called the warrior gene?
Okay, here's the thing. Here's the truth.
My people would go around slaughtering people. Right? I come from Vikings. We literally raided things because it was fun and we got bored in the ice. So if
have you heard of the warrior gene?
Hold on, wait. If you want to talk about the warrior gene, how come half the Norwegian and Norse people don't go around carrying battle axes, killing people on the street?
Because we're not talking about like just a generic, oh, you're warriors, you have the war. That's not like a colloquial expression. There is a specific gene that some people have and some don't. That is aggression, that is testosterone, and those kinds of things. These are genetic explanations for these differences in behavior.
No. And then the other thing.
Wish that debate was still available because we actually debunked the warrior gene when that guy came up to debate on my old channel, and then they went on to another channel, and that whole thing came up. But
the whole genetic thing is this. You're telling me if it's a genetic thing, you're telling me if we were to take a black baby and put him with the Mexican family, right? Or if we take a white baby and put him with the black family, or so on and so forth, you're saying that's going to be the same outcome just because they're born with this genetic, not a race, just because they're born with this genetic, that therefore they're going to act. they would if they were still with whatever family, right?
Well, I didn't say. First of all, I'll answer
you
your
said it was
question.
a genetic thing, though.
This is a good time to check the stream and make sure everything's working on my end. We can come back to this. Obviously, long, drawn-out conversation here. Drawn-out conversation here. Drawn-out conversation here. Yeah, look, we got screen. See everybody. I don't know if we want to go there. Got the exclusive interview with the last person to debate Charlie Kirk.
What brought you to the event that day?
I make videos on Charlie Kirk, and I made this video about the statistical analysis on trans shooters. And sort of the point that I was trying to make was that it's sort of a statistical outlier, that they're extremely underrepresented when it comes to how peaceful they are. Obviously, that question, pretty ironic given when it was given. Yeah, so I mostly came in there because Charlie's very open about having some sort of dialogue or some sort of conversation that he believes in engaging. And I'm pretty on the record of how much I disagree with him, but I do definitely respect how much he's willing to platform voices to ensure that, at least some semblance of a good conversation can come out of it.
Mm-hmm. And as far as these statistical anomaly thing when it comes to trans shooters, is that in response to the way that him and Turning Point were framing that as a big issue?
So it was about 3 weeks ago. There was a trans shooter at a Catholic church. Charlie made a bunch of tweets basically saying, when are we going to start noticing that this is a trend? And I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting my math degree at UVU. That was my university. And I was like, there's an answer to that. There's, we can determine if there's some sort of outliers. We can use p-values, things like that. And I was like, according to the data, it really doesn't pan out that there is a trend here at all. So I kind of made a video calling him out a little bit and saying, hey, I want to come debate you. I want to come do it. And a lot of people were kind of encouraging me. So I kind of wanted to come and have my, I guess my little audience see that.
Mm-hmm. How was the energy whenever you arrived to the event?
Very conservative, for sure. Everyone was very energetic, chanting Trump, chanting USA.
Get comfortable. Bring the best libs that Utah has to offer.
There was a line of liberals on the rooftop who were holding pride flags and I think some Palestine flags and things like that. And there was a little bit of taunting back and forth, but not very out of hand. Most of the debaters were either asking questions like who's better, LeBron or Jordan, or some theological debates about distinctions between Mormonism and Christians.
That Jesus Christ was a real person. He lived a perfect life. He was crucified, died, and rose on the third day, and he is Lord and God over all. Christ is King.
But also, the event lasted, I want to say 20 minutes, maybe. I really didn't get a good finger on the pulse on what an event would really look like, because, I showed up fairly early. I was the second person to speak there. So, the first person was maybe 10 minutes, and I maybe got, less than a minute in. So,
could you give us kind of a recap of how that conversation with Charlie went?
Sure.
Yeah, this is working. Hey, Charlie. Hey, hopefully we're gonna have a little bit more disagreement.
So it was, I came in and I said, hey, there was a shooting that happened maybe a few weeks ago in Minneapolis.
And ever since then, about 3 weeks later, the Trump DOJ said that we should start talking about revoking gun rights for transgender Americans.
Do you think, you agree with this? Is that a fair assessment or something like that? And he said yes. And then I said...
So, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years?
Too many.
And I said, there's 5. And I said, do you know how many shootings there have been? I think maybe my memory's a little hazy. I haven't rewatched the videos, honestly. But it was something like this, which I knew the answer. It was a little under 6,000. He said something like, we need to account for gang violence. And I think I was like, I was in the middle of saying, great, did you run a statistical analysis on that, right? Like essentially saying you have the burden of proof. And I think I was in the middle of saying that when he got shot.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
All right, we'll stop that there for now. Trying to decide what we want to get into from these ones. Nobody in the comments? Got crickets? Yeah, me too. Okay, we haven't watched this yet.
Vindication, victory, rejoice! Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. Somebody laugh with me. Come on now. Laugh, laugh. God is good all the time.
He said, God became man so that man might become God. So, in the Orthodox religion, they believe that eventually they will become God if they're good enough, if they adhere to God's commandments, they will become deity. Here's from another one of their leaders, St. Gregory. He says, let us become like Christ, since Christ became like us. Let us become gods for his sake, since he became man for ours. Let me ask you, is that a Christian claim? Is that part of Christianity to claim that we can become gods?
As much as that is possible for a created being to be God, that is what God wants from us, for us. That's his desire. That's why he created us. And so he wanted to us to share in all his glory. He wanted us to bring us in. The notion of theosis makes sense of the entire cosmos. And says it makes sense of everything.
Orthodoxy is actually tied to Catholicism, and Sunday when they get together and they have a service, they will often recite this. They say, I believe in one holy Catholic and apostolic church. This is recited in every divine liturgy that they have. So they are continuously saying that they are the true Catholic Church, and they are very close to Catholicism. Here's from one of their leaders from the 4th century. He said, God became man so that man might become God. So, in the Orthodox religion, they believe that eventually they will become God if they're good enough, if they adhere to God's commandments, they will become deity. Here's from another one.
Is this Christian mainline teaching? Yeah, it is. It's been for decades. I don't know where you've been or who you've spoken to, but that's
well, I actually used to
for
be in the
decades.
ministry. I used to be a Pentecostal preacher, so yeah,
Okay.
I'm fairly familiar with the historicity of the Christian claim. But
what does that
everything
say?
there being fulfilled is not claimed. So
Okay, what does that say? They titled Matthew 24, the chapter. They subtitled it. What does that say? The destruction of what?
yeah, they titled it that, but that's not everything that is in the verse. These
Okay.
titles
So-
weren't written
so-
there
so,
originally.
okay.
You do know that.
Okay, did you hear my explanation? That part of the prophecy is prophesying about the destruction of the temple, and that is when Jesus says, this will happen within a generation. And then there are parts of the prophecy that deal with the end times. So we can't make Jesus only
You're
talk
cutting this
about one
apart
thing.
even after Jesus said all these things will be fulfilled.
Okay,
So you're
all
saying
what
all,
things?
but not all.
Okay,
See,
all
he said
what
all, but
things?
not all is what you're doing.
All
Well,
what
he said
things?
that the
Okay,
Son of Man will
hold
come
on.
in glory.
Hold on. All what things? Because I can be talking about going to the grocery store in one breath and say all the things will be accomplished, and then in another breath, I could be talking about something else. So prophecy oftentimes mentions more than one event. That's why even the translators recognize
Yeah, I'm
it.
totally fine with you just pulling the verses and reading it because it
Okay.
feels like you're
I'm
injecting
gonna read it.
everything into this
Wait,
turkey
so-
you want to put in it.
Obviously,
Yeah. Was it Jill like? So I get like, say I'm going to the grocery store and I get all the things on the list or something, but he forgot to say that he was also going to stop at the post office. Something like that. I don't know. Does this make sense? I don't know.
someone agrees with me so far. The subtitle of this Bible Gateway agrees with me so far. That's
No
all
kidding.
I'm pointing out.
Anyone that
That's all I'm pointing
was
out.
past the point that Jesus didn't come,
Okay.
those people were highly disappointed. This
Okay,
is why
hold on.
Clement had to address this crowd.
Before you get to move the goalposts to talking about people being disappointed later, because Jesus didn't return. My pastor was disappointed he didn't return either.
No. They were disappointed in 96 AD when Clement was addressing the
That's
church.
irrelevant. That's
because-
irrelevant.
Well,
Hold
the
on.
reason
That's
that
irrelevant.
it's relevant
Let's
is
not.
it because
Let's
it was
not
the
go.
earliest
Let's stay
translation
here.
of his prophecy, though.
Let's stay here. Let's not talk about what people's expectations were later.
Well, you get
Just
to
like my pastor-
reimagine it
just
when
like-
the prophecy doesn't get
Hold on.
fulfilled. Is
You're
the
moving the
problem, though.
goalposts. Now
No,
I
no,
have to
no.
defend people's expectation hundreds of years later.
It's not
Okay?
hundreds of years later.
Or
It is
20
the
years
next
later,
generation.
or 30 years later.
He said this generation will not
Or
pass
20
away, and then the
and
next
this
generation, is
generation
like,
did
what
not
happened?
pass away. The destruction of the temple
my
happened.
father and my mother, they
Okay,
all
so-
thought that that Jesus was going to
All
come.
right, so let's not move the goalposts. Let's stay here. The destruction of the temple.
Who's moving the goalposts? He just said it. He said this generation. That was what Jesus said, right?
And signs of the end times. Do you agree that the
I don't really care
translators-
about any of your doctrine. I care
Okay,
about
this
the verses.
isn't my
If you
doctrine,
wanna
sir.
read the
Listen
verses,
to my question.
that would be best.
Listen to my question. I'm not asking you about my doctrine. Okay, listen to my question, please. And then
Said, read me the verses. And he's like, no. Typical Joe Pesci.
answer if you can. Do you agree that the translators of this passage on Bible Gateway, a highly respected Bible app, that
Well, they just copied whatever said in the NIV. They didn't translate the shit, right?
that billions and millions of people use, do you agree at least that they are saying what I'm saying? That this passage, Matthew 24, is describing two major events, at least two major events, the destruction of the temple and the signs of the end times. Do you agree?
I have no idea what their intentions are.
Okay,
It has
is that the
one short
subtitle that you
sentence.
see here?
That is the subtitle that I
Okay,
see here.
thank you.
We can put
Now
any
I'm gonna-
subtitle on that you want to put on
Okay,
that. That
thank
is
you.
not the words
Now-
that were spoken in the prophecy.
Okay, thank you. Now I'm going to go to a better version of Matthew 24 that doesn't have all those advertisements. So give me 1 second. A better app, if you will, or page.
He's worried about the advertisements, really?
I don't like to be scrolling through advertisements when I'm reading the word. All right. So I'm going to pull up let's do the ESV.
Bible Gateway does not have that many ads.
Seems pretty clear of ads. And I'm going to share my screen. And you're going to demonstrate what? That Jesus was only talking about one thing, that he wasn't talking about two different events. But
I want to
just
say
his
this
second
over and
coming?
over because I feel like I keep beating this dead horse. All these things shall be fulfilled.
All
I
what
want to be
things?
clear. The
What was
things
he speaking
before
of
that verse
specifically?
was said. That's what we're going to look at if
Okay.
we just go ahead and read it.
All right. So what verse are you?
I was very happy to see Skeptic Philosophy talking with Neil and Mikey a couple of days ago over at Skeptic Haven. I was once on Neil's channel. I did a deconversion story over there. And actually, I've been meaning to go look back at it. We just scrolled past it. But it is in the list. Yeah, there it is. And so, anyway, one of these days, you'll take a look back at it. The human mind is so interesting in the way we sometimes misremember things. But anyway, there's maybe been some. I could probably elaborate on my story better now that I've thought about it more. From when I did that interview, it's been a while back. But yeah. So anyway, just an interesting side thought there.
E.
Right. And I don't even see why that's
Yeah.
offensive. I don't get it, but
speaking of PMARS,
it's because the woke community demands that it be offensive.
Paul says like don't be conformed by the standards of the world, but be transformed by the renewal
Yeah. Woke people want to be offended.
of your mind. It probably messed it up a bit, but something like that.
Don't you love it when that young skull full of mush came in here before and he tried the flying spaghetti monster routine? I mean, how dumb can you be?
Like when I was a kid, Darth, the F word was, fuck, right? But now it's the F slur, or for gay people slur. That's now the F word.
I am for the FSM. Yeah.
Hey, Precept King, do you want to hear something funny? So I was just talking to Grizzly Gorilla, and he hit me with this absolute banger of a fucking meme. He said, Jesus believed that the earth was flat, therefore I need to believe it's flat too, if I want to be a Christian.
He actually said that to you?
He said that verbatim.
Okay,
He's not a Christian, though.
So Grizzly Gorilla came and he apologized to me a couple of years ago because he was super trolling me and giving out information which he thought was mine. Okay, but so I guess he's still trolling. Yeah. Well, don't waste your time talking with him. Just write him off. Don't talk.
So according to some people who've done some very thorough research on the interwebs, Darth's name is Gary, and this has been pretty well spread. I'm not putting out anything that hasn't been put out before. But like I said the last time, you can't really be 100% certain about these things unless you are. I mean, I tend to kind of believe it. It seems like they've done a lot of good research. But I'm still not 100% convinced because I haven't seen the man on camera, So actually, that's not true because I have seen the man called Gary on camera. It does appear to be the same person, but it's not openly associated with the name Darth Dawkins. So
yeah,
I feel
that's why I'm here.
If they give out information and the guy's not you, like, he must get harassed a lot. Just some random guys getting harassed because these people putting out fake information.
I have a question for you, Darth.
I'm listening.
So, have you ever heard of Russell's teapot?
No, I've never heard of that.
I figured you did. I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on that. Because I heard it in a conversation days ago.
First of all, I always like to give credit where credit due. Bertrand Russell was a brilliant man, both mathematically and philosophically. But his teapot...
Holy shit. That was actually... Yeah, I wouldn't expect that. But, Darth actually respects Burt Russell,
was just utter foolishness, okay? He's talking about... I'm trying to remember, was it a visible or an invisible... Did he say it was an invisible teapot orbiting what planet?
Was it invisible? Yeah, I don't know. It was orbiting.
Yeah, something like that. Okay. So the point is, this is...
He didn't say it was visible or invisible, as far as I recall. He just said there was a teapot orbiting some distant planet in the universe, right? So presumably we can't necessarily see it, but we believe that it exists there, right? Because this is the same argument for God. This is the theological argument, right? It's turning it on.
This is a claim, therefore, that nothing directly or indirectly indicates God. But did he defend that? No, he didn't. What he's doing is he's positing God as the ground of all being, who would, by definition, not be a material.
What he's saying is he is presuming an entity out there in the universe that you would find ridiculous, and saying, why is that any more ridiculous than your claim of God?
Real entity, but who might choose to manifest himself in some way physically. right? He's treating God as though he were like Martians or the Loch Ness monster or Bigfoot, okay? And then says, because we don't have anything to confirm it there, then we're justified in saying that it's not there. It's not. It's like Anthony Flews, the presumption of atheism, okay? Like what Christopher Hitchens said in the debate with William Lane Craig, that since there is no evidence for God, then we should be bold enough to say, therefore, God does not exist. Right?
I saw. I remember reading. What do they call, like a counter argument to the teapot, saying in the teapot scenario, the idea is like we don't have evidence for this teapot, therefore we shouldn't like believe or disbelieve in it. And the counterclaim was like, well, we would have evidence because teapots are man-made, and it would require like a space agency to launch this teapot out into space.
It's a pathetic line of reasoning for such a brilliant philosopher as Bertrand Russell. Okay, because it's really
It's the same line of reasoning, because you're like asking where does the teapot come from, and then people ask you where God comes from. You can just say, well, it's always been there. Well, the teapot's always been there. What are you talking about?
Characterizing the situation. And again, Russell himself was smuggling in atheism. Okay. The smuggling in of atheism is to say, well, we have this natural world. We both agree, but you want to say there's God. God is this supernatural overlay. So we both agree the natural world exists, but you have to.
They just refuse to acknowledge that their line of reasoning is flawed in this way, right? Even though it's demonstrated them using a perfect analogy.
The supernatural. That's the line of reasoning.
Near perfect analogy
that I've just given is smuggling in atheism. Because the natural world will either be presented with reference to the necessity of God or without. Just saying that the natural world just simply is, without referencing God, is to present a kind of naturalism or materialism, which is atheist. It's a kind of covert atheism.
Covert atheism? I don't know what that means. That's funny. I like it. It's a kind of covert atheism.
So is it the fact that the teapot is like inconsequential, like nothing depends on the teapot's existence?
Well, what Russell is saying is there's nothing to indicate that the teapot is there, right?
Right.
But that's analogous.
Saying there is as much evidence of the teapot as there is of God, because it's based on individual claims, right, that can't be substantiated.
To saying that the world, everything in the world that we come into contact with, does not indicate the creator directly or indirectly. Mm-hmm. But that's not something that he can defend.
Oh, I see.
Okay. What Russell is advancing is a kind of that atheism is simply a state of incredulity, right? That atheism is just the rejection of the God claim, right? But that
it's incredulity in the face of a claim that is unfalsifiable is the term, right? You can't prove it, you can't disprove it. It's just a claim, like the teapot claim, that you would have no way of knowing whether it's true or not. And basically, you are, as an atheist, you are indifferent to it, right? It doesn't actually affect you. They make the claim that it affects you, but that's a further claim to the existence of the thing. So you first have to prove the existence of the thing to prove to the atheist that it's consequential to them.
That's not what atheism is. Now, I should qualify that by saying atheists who outright deny the existence of God do reject the God claim, but atheism is not a mere non-acceptance of the God world. Okay? That's why they'll sit there and just say, well, I'm just unconvinced. Well, that's non-informative, because you see, agnostics say they're not.
Right. Look at the deistic claim. In the deistic worldview, God exists, but it's incidental. It doesn't actually matter to humans. The knowledge of God's existence doesn't actually affect the outcome for you in a deistic worldview, right? So you still have other like these other factors, right, and that affect how you behave in the world. It's only in a particular narrative, in a particular framework, that now this like constrains your behavior in a certain way. And why? Because God said so. Can you prove the existence of the God? No, not really, right? So.
Convinced, and they claim that they're suspending judgment. Atheists who deny the existence of God are also not convinced by virtue of the fact that they deny the existence of God. Okay? Merely saying that you're in a state of incredulity, it doesn't follow from that God doesn't exist.
Do you find it odd that atheists think that science proves atheism? They always link the two, that, oh, science works, physics works, therefore atheism.
Well, they're very people who talk like that and think like that, even though they may be educated in other areas, are very stupid philosophically or metaphysically. Victor Stenger, the late Victor Stenger, did that. He held that science demonstrates that God doesn't exist. I don't recall what the title of his book is at the moment. Maybe somebody can look that up. But Victor Stenger was very smart when it came to the sciences and physics.
I can't search it because I have Prism set to single app only.
But a lot of times these physics wonks step into areas that they're not properly prepared for, philosophically. And I don't mean formally, right? Look at Lawrence Krauss. The guy is an atheist firebrand. He's debated for atheism. And when I just simply say, oh, how is it that God doesn't exist? That's all I said to him. All of a sudden he goes, oh, I'm not saying that there couldn't be a guiding intelligence. I'm just saying the ones so far aren't credible, that they don't exist. So this
is essentially actually exactly the same argument that I had when I spoke to Darth. And his response was, well, I'm not arguing for a particular deity. I'm just arguing for a deity. That was actually his response to me. God, I wish I still had that conversation.
Does is he baits and switch from global atheism to local atheism. Okay? Now, do you think when he's among his own fellow atheists that he's claiming he's an agnostic? That he's just in a state of incredulity? He's not sure one way or the other? He categorically said, we don't need God. And if you make that assertion, that is an indirect, implicit denial of the existence of God. It's an informal denial. But when I asked him to give me the rationale why God doesn't exist, he folded and he baited and switched.
Who are we talking about?
Lawrence Craig.
Fucking baked Alaska for the win.
The
uncomfortable silence. And who are we talking about?
Oh, yeah. He does the typical dance.
And it's funny. William Lane Craig debated him, I think, in Australia on 3 separate nights, and Krauss acted like a complete horse's ass, and Craig let him get away with it,
Yeah, one of those debates, he was like out of control.
You know what? You could have just, if Craig's not a biblical presuppositionalist, okay? He's more of a classical or evidentialist, okay? And Craig's position is not that it's objectively provable that God exists, like Van Til says. Craig's position is that God is the best explanation of why anything exists.
And we got this from Supreme Leader Streams. Lots of good content like this over there. I'm probably going to sign out. Been horsing around here for a minute. I didn't really have a plan for today's stream, just to stream because we're starting the 9 to 5 thing here, and so it's starting tomorrow ostensibly, but anyway, just a lot of changes coming up. So yeah, so I'm in this position now, legally speaking, because of the position I'm in. I am now a mandated reporter to state, meaning I am legally required to, under some circumstances, to report certain things that I see that may be unlawful to the appropriate agencies. Otherwise, could be considered negligence on my part. And so that's kind of interesting. And I'm also bound by HIPAA. I already had been subject to NDAs, but now it's falls under HIPAA. So definitely have to be very careful in certain areas with speaking about what I know and all that stuff, and reporting to the appropriate agencies. So anyway, just a lot of stuff there, but all good things. Can't see any issues with it. So that's that, and try to leave off on a happy note here. Here. Many thanks to Show Me Sasquatch for this one.